It's time for Criminal Law 101.
With criminal defense attorney Ken Eulo from the law firm of Smith Eulo.
On 101.1 WJRR.
All right, we are Orlando's rock station. Ken, what's going on, brother?
Going pretty good. How you guys doing today?
Doing all right, man.
Good weekend?
Awesome weekend.
Mm-hmm. Ken, of course, from Smith and Eulo, criminal defense attorneys. Just in here BSing about some of the stuff we're going to bring up this morning and some eye-popping information Ken will share here in a moment. But I had to hit you with this. Don't know if you saw it because it happened on Friday.
I hadn't seen this, Pat, until you told me about it.
And I just want you to... You're a criminal defense attorney, and let's just say you've been assigned this case to this guy. Dude reaches out to a local television station. I think this is in Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. And tells the person on the phone he has some information about death of his parents. And he more or less gets this news director, so why don't you come in and we'll do a live interview, or we'll record an interview. So the guy comes in within the hour, and they're sitting down recording this interview. And in the course of the interview, the guy confesses to having killed and buried his parents in the backyard.
Wow! And that actually happened?
Yeah. Yes.
So it aired? Did it air?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So before the guy even leaves the TV station, cops are there and they arrest him. They execute the search warrant at the home. Sure enough, mom and dad are buried in the backyard. And this guy, he said they were old and frail, and they knew it was coming, and it was for the best. And that was his. Like, a guy calls the TV station, they do an interview, and he gives a confession to this. And he's going to be in court at some time. He's confessed to it. Where does this go?
So if it's dumped in your lap, how do you respond?
I think this is kind of an interesting one. I had a similar case. Not similar in the fact that he just went out and randomly, decided to kill his parents. But, I think that there are murder cases that really aren't as heinous as some. If we're saying these people were like seriously elderly and sickly and they really wanted to go out, it's still going to be charged as murder, right? Like that's not going to change. But I think that you have a lot of mitigation for trying to get the prosecutor to come down on a significantly less harsh sentence. I had a case where a guy got into a bar fight and punched a guy. The guy fell back, hit his head, died.
Yeah. And
should that be charged as like the traditional murder? I think that kind of falls in that same category where you're working through with the prosecutor trying to work out something that's reasonable.
What if he had the parents sign something? Not that he did, but what if he had the parents sign something that said, "Hey, we wanted him to."
That wasn't the case, though. They were.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
But what if he did?
You really can't consent to a murder happening, right? But I think that I think those are things that they would look at. What's a fair sentence in the case? Again, it's a very weird scenario. I think you'd have to look into a lot of stuff, like how sickly were they? How did they actually want this?
This probably will never even see the inside of a courtroom. He's already confessed. He'll probably just plead guilty, right? And then he'll be sentenced.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty straightforward plea, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you remember when you talked about the bar fight where somebody punched a guy in the face, he fell back in his head? Do you remember when that happened? No, it happened in a high school fight. A kid that went to, I believe it was University High. In high school, you go out in the parking lot and you throw fists. That was what we did growing up. You settled the problem out in the parking lot, but hit somebody and they fell back. The other student fell back and hit his head on a parking block.
It happens more than you would think, something like that scenario. And
so remember that when you have one too many and go hauling off a punching a guy in a bar.
Yeah, like I said, those are the cases that you try to work something out that's reasonable. I've seen cases like that where the guy is not even doing like a year in prison, something like that. Even though it's a murder, it's not the traditional murder. Right?
Yeah, and I don't think they ruined this kid's life over it. I'm sure he's out because this was a decade ago.
We have a couple listener questions. Let's slide in here before we get to what Ken wanted to bring up this morning. It's some good information to be aware of here in a moment.
Yeah, again, you can send your questions in anytime at 22526. If you need to get in touch with Ken directly, it's Ken at Smith, Eulo, EULO.com. And if you didn't get all that, don't worry, just text me, 22526. This is for Ken. How do you get paid if your client goes to jail?
Well,
it's a good question.
I never thought of it.
So I think that, you deal with two different types of people. You have the people that are in jail and hire us through the family members, right? That's one of the ways. And they're stuck in jail throughout the process. And the family member is the one responsible for making the payments as they go along. Or you have the people that go to jail bond out, which is the vast majority of them, and they're making their payments throughout the duration of representation. So I would say, most cases are not going to resolve with the person going to jail, first of all. And then second of all, the ones that end up actually, do go to jail or prison or whatever, that's usually a year down the line. And obviously the payment plan would be scheduled, in a reasonable way to kind of get that taken care of beforehand.
Okay.
Have you ever been stiffed?
Of course.
Yeah, and
It's business.
do you?
I'll tell you a funny.
You turn them into collections, or what do you do?
We try to be fair with people. We had a funny. This is a reason why we don't take personal checks anymore. So we had a girl come in once, and she was charged with check fraud, right?
Oh no! There were more checks in the checkbook, so I just kept writing them.
Yeah, and she comes to us. This is back in our early years, and we didn't know any better, right? And so she hires us, right? And we jump on the case, and we get a quick resolution. And sure enough, the check that she wrote us for the case bounced, right?
Oh, that's just, you can't make that up. That's epic. Question for Ken. I was arrested for interfering with an investigation because I was talking smack to an officer that was arresting a family member. They flat out said they were arresting me to silence me. What recourse do I have?
I'd be curious to know the facts on that case. What exactly was the interference? Was it just, trash talking? That seems like a case that should probably get thrown out if it's just simply trash talking. And if the cop went overboard, nowadays you got body camera footage, so you'd be able to kind of take that footage and go to internal affairs and potentially open up an investigation if the cop abused authority. That's usually the main recourse, is to go through internal affairs. If it was really, truly egregious, then you'd potentially look at some sort of civil, lawsuit for the unlawful arrest. But I'd have to look at the facts more to kind of let him know exactly what I think he has there.
And it's a lot of work too.
It's funny you bring up the body cam footage, and this is something that probably doesn't come up a lot. A lot of times, the only time you hear about body cam footage is when something questionable happens. We know an awful lot of police officers, and I can't speak for all police officers, nor am I trying to. A lot of them I talk to are like, we're glad we have these things now. Because of the amount of he said, she said stuff that officers will deal with on a daily basis. You never hear about look, I was right here on this,
I think if I was a police officer, I would want a body cam. You see of all these people that imagine if you're in like a shooting or something like that where you have to defend yourself and they're claiming that you just, randomly open fire on a suspect or something like that. I think if you're a good police officer, a good investigator, you'd want a body cam. Yeah. I think the people who don't want the body cameras are the ones that are shady and do weird stuff, right?
Nightstick in the back of the legs.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Get to this while we still have time this morning. This is interesting. Those of you who have dealt with any kind of potential drug cases, this is some information you might want to be aware of.
Yeah, so we were talking before we jumped in the air about the drug trafficking laws in Florida and about how large they are, especially for things like oxycodone, fentanyl, things like that. It's really, and I'm not sure if I think that you guys have the little on-air thing where you can see it. Yeah, but I pulled up a bag of what 28 grams looks like, right?
Of a substance,
of any substance.
Can you see that on the video, Pat?
I don't know. 28.
Yeah. Hold it up a little more. There you go.
Is that good right there?
Yeah.
So 28 grams is really not that much, right? But let's assume you have a bag of baking soda, like 80% baking soda, maybe a little bit of cocaine, a little bit of, even a 1% fentanyl is dropped in there, right? And let's assume you're a user, not a person that's out there trying to peddle, in drugs or anything like that. You're just a person who just trying to get their high. That 28 grams, and maybe you think it's cocaine or something like that, that can get you, if they catch you with that bag, 25-year mandatory prison sentence.
For all the crap that's cut into it, it all gets lumped into the umbrella drug title.
It's all mixed in. So you have, I was talking to one of the partners here at the firm, Matt Futch. He used to be a prosecutor over in Seminole County. And really interesting. He has a bunch of friends that are in law enforcement, and they recently said that in a test that was done over the last 2 years, 3 years, they have tested literally every single substance over the last couple of years, and there is not one time that they have tested a bag of cocaine or a bag of something else that didn't have a little bit of fentanyl in it.
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary. That's something, and that's why Ken's bringing it to the table, because that's some,
this crap's killing people. And the other point he's trying to make here is a lot of times you think, oh, if you've got X amount of drugs or whatever, it's always the dealers or the traffickers that are going to do the big time. No, the point he's trying to make is if you take possession of something like that, which to the eye there doesn't look like a whole lot of any kind of substance, there's serious time, even if you're just on the user end.
Yeah, and again, I tried to do a little research when we talked about the drug trafficking idea. It's funny, I reached out to a couple of past clients just to get a little bit of intel to see how long it would take to go through a bag like that if it was cocaine or something like that. Yeah. And that's maybe a week's worth of personal use. Think about that. You have a week's worth of personal use. A guy goes and buys it, and that's
25 years.
25 years, because there's a little bit of fentanyl mixed in.
Or too much fentanyl, which is even a whole different topic. And then
the overdose, right?
So, all right, again, good information just to be aware of. We're not telling you what to do or not to do. We're just giving you the information. You make those own choices.
I'm not sure if you guys saw the Charlie Sheen documentary where he talked about smoking the 7-gram rocks.
Oh my God, dude! I was gonna talk to Pat about this one of these days coming up on the air. That if you ever want to feel good about yourself, watch the Charlie Sheen special.
How he's still alive is...
Oh, my God. We need to talk about it later more in depth, because I've been watching it as of late, freaking out.
All right. Ken Eulo, always appreciate your insight on Mondays for Criminal Law 101. Again, if you ever have a concern in that arena, and God forbid, but it's good to have somebody you can turn to. These guys are good over there at Smith and Eulo.
Ken at Smith and, spell out and, Eulo.com. Again, that's Ken at Smith, ANDEULO.com. And if you didn't get that, like I said, just text me, 22526, and we'll get to any of the questions that came in, the extra ones today, next week.
And we'll get you in touch with Ken. All right. Ken, always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Good seeing you guys.
All right, see you next week, and have a good rest of the day.
Lynch and Taco.